Welcome, everybody. Welcome back to Hurting the People Do Cry podcast. I am your host, Willa Powell. I don't have any co-hosts with me today. I pray that everybody is doing well. I'm going to pray for one of the co-hosts that was supposed to be here today, Miss Janetta Brown, who took ill today, and we're going to send up prayer for her. I also want to apologize for not being on podcast last week. Had a lot of stuff that was going on, so I wasn't able to do a podcast. But today I want to go into prayer right quick, and I want to say, God, thank you for everything, Father. Thank you for this day. God, reach out to those that needs prayer right now. Reach out to those that's hurting on the inside, Father. Thank you, God, for all that you've done for me and my family, my church family. God, I thank you for everything that you say that you're going to do and you have done in my name. Thank you, God, for protecting me. Thank you for your angels. Thank you for your grace, your mercy, Father. Just so much. If I had 1,000 tongues, it still wouldn't be enough to this to tell you how grateful I am to have you in my life and watching over me. God, I just want to say thank you for this podcast. Thank you for giving me the desire to do this podcast and the words to say in this podcast, Father. Sometimes I don't know what I like to talk about. Sometimes, but Father, I listen and you give me my topics and I go in and do my research. And for that, Father, I want to say thank you in Jesus' name. So today what I want to talk about is relationships. We describe relationships in so many different ways. And as I was doing my research, I didn't know that there were so many different types of relationships that we all get in. We always think it's just one relationship. But there are so many words that describes a relationship. And I want to talk about some of it. And one of the words that comes to my mind is describing a relationship is love. You know, love is a feeling or a strong attachment in a caring for someone or something. Love is an action word. You can say you love me, but it's an action word. And it also can be described as a passionate feeling or an excitement or enthusiasm. Another word that often describes a relationship is a romantic relationship. That it is a passionate and an intimate between two people. And it often characterized by strong feelings of love and affection. We see a romantic relationship in so many different ways. And the third type of relationship is a friendship relationship, and which is between two people who are just friends, but they have a strong bond of trust and mutual respect. Now, my question is to you, how do you describe a relationship? If you were to ask yourself, how would you describe a relationship? And, you know, if you want to describe a relationship in a way that's positive and it can be upbeat, you might want to use the word friendly, cordial. You might want to describe a relationship in a way that it could be negative or hostile. Or you might use words like tense or continuous. So there are many different ways of describing a relationship. And, you know, no matter how you choose to describe a relationship, it is also important to be clear and concise about a relationship and how you describe it. And you should also use accurate terms to describe a relationship, like dynamic. Or you could use you can avoid words using like subjective terms. Let's say, for an example, you might say that, you know, there are two people that are dating, but they are in a relationship. But you should not say that they are a romantic or intimate relationship, because dating and a romantic and intimate relationship are two different things. So it pretty much doesn't mean the same. And when you describe a relationship, it is also important to be aware of your audience. You can use certain terms that's inappropriate for your audience but not for another. Okay, let's give an example. You might use the term partner to describe that you're dating, but you might not use it to describe someone that you're married to. Partners can be, like you say, someone that you're just dating. It can be the same sex relationship. And it is also say, oh, there's my partner there. And sometimes you might say, we're married. So you have to be aware of the audience when you're using such terms. Like I said, there are so many different types of relationships. When I looked it up, and one, like I was telling, the friendship relationship, and this is where two or more people share a close emotion bond, and they just enjoy spending time together, but they support and encourage each other. You know what I'm saying? So that type of relationship could be a good relationship, and it could be a bad relationship. And like I told you about the romantic relationship, these is where two people are attracted to each other, and they share physical and emotional intimacy. And that means that that they care for each other and are interested in each other's well-being. So you got your friendship relationship, and then you got your romantic relationship. So since we said that, how would you describe a loving relationship? You ask yourself, a loving relationship is like one in which both partners feel safe and secure, expressing their feelings and needs. They also feel like they can rely on their partners to be there for them in good times and bad times. And when you have a loving relationship like that, that's the kind that I want. A loving relationship can be built on trust with mutual respect. You must be able to give each other mistakes and willing to work through disagreements. And by saying that, you must learn to communicate. Some of them may also share a sense of humor, enjoying time with each other. And I love to talk to people that has a lot of sense of humor. To me, that right there means a lot. Now, since we talked about the friendship relationship and the romantic relationship, and we talk about a loving relationship, like I said, so many different types of relationship. But let's talk about this one. And I'm sure that a lot of you can relate. Maybe it has happened in a relationship that you was in before. You may know somebody that may be in this type of relationship. But let's look at a toxic relationship. How will you describe a toxic relationship? Okay, I'm going to give you a minute to think about it. To me, a toxic relationship is a relationship that can be harmful to you. Physically, emotionally, or it could be both. And you can have a toxic relationship with a friend. You can have a toxic relationship with a family member. Or you can have a toxic relationship with a romantic partner. It just depends. And there are too many words that can describe a toxic relationship. Some words that describes a toxic relationship, it can be abusive, it can be destructive, and it can be harmful. And to me, a toxic relationship is the worst relationship, in my opinion, that you can be in. And if you feel like you are in a toxic relationship, it is very important to get help. And there are so many sources out there, resources available to people. Um, you can get like therapy. Go talk to somebody. And also there's like support groups that you could try to reach out and look up and, to seek a, you know, if you're in a toxic relationship and you talk to somebody else that's in a toxic relationship, you too can relate to what you're going through. And like I say, it can be different types. This person could be in an abusive, toxic relationship, or the other person can be in a destructive, in a harmful way relationship, but still it's all a toxic relationship. So if you feel like you're in a relationship like that, please go and get help before it's too late. Another thing that I want to talk about is what is an unhealthy relationship? Because like I said at the beginning, there are so many different types of relationships. And when I was doing my research, I did not know how many different types of relationships there were. I'm thinking about romantic relationships and, like you say, friendship relationships, but it is so many. And an unhealthy relationship, to me, is the same as a toxic relationship. Um, there are so many ways that we can describe an unhealthy relationship, and one of them is abusive. And an abusive relationship is characterized by one partner's effort to control and dominate the other. And this can involve physical, sexual, or emotional abuse. You have another unhealthy relationship, which is called angry unhealthy relationship. And people in an unhealthy relationship can be consist angry and wants to fight. And this can be caused by a number of factors such like resentments, jealousy, lack of trust. And to me, all that really connects to a toxic relationship. Because this can cause a toxic relationship. You may be in a relationship where somebody's jealous of you because you make more money, or you have achieved your goals. Lack of trust. Maybe a reason why they don't trust you, or you have given them a reason not to have trust you. So that can be unhealthy as well as a toxic relationship. Being negative, like emotional environment, like criticism, insults, name calling. Words hurt, and you can't take them words back. You know what I mean? So then you got what you call a destructive, unhealthy relationship. And that's where the partners are often more focused on destroying each other than a healthy conflict resolution. And it can also lead to a lot of hurt feelings, a damage to a relationship. And like I said, all this connects to me as the same as a toxic relationship. Because a toxic relationship is an unhealthy relationship. Then you also got like an unsupported unhealthy relationship. And that's where they don't provide emotional or practical support for each other. They can leave one or both partners feeling isolated and unsupported. Like my job, you don't support me with my job. Or you don't support me with ideas that I may have, or how we can improve our relationship, and you don't support me there. You're always going against it. So when we talked about toxic relationships, there are certain words that can involve with toxic relationships. And some of these toxic words like, you're stupid. Somebody tell you ugly. Or you just worthless. And a lot of people in these type of relationships, it happens. A man can call a lady ugly, or You just stupid, and they lose that self-esteem, or don't nobody else want you. Look how fat you are. Who else wants you but me? And that type of person lose self-respect of themselves. You know, they just feel like they're not worth anything anymore. And then it make them feel ashamed and embarrassed. And, you know, make them feel, you know, like they don't feel good about themselves no more. It's self-conscious. Don't think that he's the only one that wants you, because they don't put that in your head and that's what you believe. And it's very important to be careful with the words that we use. We should choose words that make people feel good about themselves and not bad. We should also be careful not to use words that might hurt someone's feelings. You ever heard that saying, sticking stones may break my bones, but words would never hurt me? Yes, words hurts. Trust me, I've been there, done it. Been called so many things in a relationship. You know, some words I've been called instead of a child of God. And then when those words get into you, you know, those words hurt. And I'm going to tell you, you can love a person so much. And then once those words start coming out, where they start calling you this name and that negative name, you lose love for that person. You may love them from the beginning, but once they start bringing you down and putting you down, you lose that love for that person. Okay, so since we've talked about toxic relationships, unhealthy relationships, all different types of relationships, let's talk about an open relationship. What do you think about an open relationship? So I'm going to give you a chance to think about that. To me, it don't make sense. I can't put it together, but when it comes to an open relationship, there are a lot of different ways to go about things. You know, some couples prefer to be in a monogamous, while others opt for an open relationship. If you're not sure what an open relationship is, it's essentially when both partners agree to date or have sex with other people outside of the relationship. Now, I don't know nobody that does it. I don't have no friends, families that does this, because an open relationship is same as cheating. That's my opinion. So, you know, some people may feel like it's like a recipe for a disaster, while others believe that they can actually strengthen their relationship with this. And if you're thinking about entering into an open relationship, you need to keep some stuff in mind. First, you and your partner need to be on the same page. This is not a relationship for everyone. So it's important to make sure that both of you are comfortable with it. You need to be able to trust your partner. If you can't trust them to be faithful to you, then the open relationship is not going to work. Now, that right there, if you can't trust them to be faithful to you, then an open relationship is not going to work. So, if you can't trust them to be faithful, why be in an open relationship? Because you cannot be faithful in an open relationship. You already cheating. So I'm a little confused with that. I don't know what you think. Open relationship is a cheating relationship to me. I would not stand for it. Because if you want to be with somebody else, that means you really want to be with that person. And you want to call it an open relationship. So why get in a relationship when you want to be with somebody else? You need to close that door. You need to be able to communicate, which a key opponent for any relationship, which is the key opponent to any relationship. But it is especially important in an open relationship. If you can't communicate, you don't need to be in a relationship. Why do I need to keep communicating to you in an open relationship? We already decided this is what we're going to do. We're going to cheat on each other. Pretty much, that's what you're doing. If you can handle being in an open relationship, this may be a good option for you. Just be sure to proceed with caution and make sure that both you and your partner are happy with this arrangement. What is a poly relationship called? Do anybody know what a poly relationship is? It refers to an ethical, non-monogamy relationship. It's a type of relationship in which individuals have multiple romantic or sexual relationships with the consent of your partner involved. Now, I'm done. It's still same to me. It's an open relationship. It's still to me a toxic relationship. Anything can go wrong in these type of relationships. It's not, this type of relationships are not necessarily called an open relationship, but they are typically open to the idea of sexual and romantic outsiders. In other words, they bringing partners in to your bedroom. It can be described a wide range of different arrangements. Some poly relationships might involve 3 people who are all in a romantic relationship with each other, while others might involve a group of friends who have romantic or sexual relationship with each other. It is also possible for a poly relationship to involve a single person who is involved in a multiple romantic or sexual relationship. So, since we know this, what are open marriages called? It's still an open relationship in my eye, because you bringing people in your space. It's the same thing to me. An open marriage in which both spouses agree that they are allowed to have sexual or romantic relationship with each other. And it's not common as traditional marriages, but they are becoming more and more popular. And that's true. That is so true. I look at talk shows and I see a lot of that. And then sometimes, like you said, you have to communicate. You and both of your partners have to know exactly what each one of you want. And there are different types of open marriages. Different types. And there are different advantages too. One of the advantages is the biggest advantage is that it allows couples to be more honest with each other. Okay, I got a problem with that. If you're not honest with each other, why be in it? Why you have to bring somebody else into your space, into your bedroom, to try to be honest with each other? You seeing your partner making love to another person that y'all brought in. So you may think, what make you think that's going to end? It's not a one-time thing. You know, a lot of marriages break up because of that, because they find out that their partner went back to that individual that you brought into your bedroom. It said that, you know, they no longer have to hide their romantic or sexual affairs from each other. And some of them think it can lead to a stronger, more trusting relationship. I'm just not understanding that. Open marriages can also be a great way to improve communication between spouses. Since they're not hiding anything from each other, they are able to talk more openly and honest about their relationship. Well, if you're not able to do that, you shouldn't be in a relationship. But these are different types of relationships. And like I said, I did not know it was so many of them. Now, there is an advantage of an open relationship that they can, help couples to maintain their sexual sparks. Sometimes, couple loses that sexual spark in their marriages, and they think this a way to bring in another person. It helps it. And when couples are not only allowed to have sex relationship with each other, they can sometimes become bored with each other. And by allowing others to have sex relationship with other people, the open marriage may be the right thing for you. It may be exciting. It's definitely something new. Another disadvantage in an open marriage can be more complicated than traditional marriages. There are more rules and guidelines that they follow, and this can sometimes lead to confusion and conflicts. Like I said earlier. And another disadvantage is one of the biggest is it can be difficult to maintain trust between spouse. Just like I just said before, you got to have trust. And I just don't think an open relationship is something that gives you trust, because you're cheating. You're still cheating. Open marriage, open relationship, it doesn't matter. It's cheating. And especially when you're married and you stand there before God and you make these vows, but you still want an open relationship, you broken those vows between you, your partner, and with God. Commitment relationship, a committed relationship. What is an open, committed relationship? It can go many different ways, but an open, committed relationship is one in which two partners agree to have sexual or romantic relationship with other people. Isn't that about the same as an open marriage or an open relationship? An open commitment relationship requires a lot of trust and communication, and both partners need to be comfortable with the idea of their partner being sexually or romantically involved with other people. It is important to set clear boundaries with your relationship and to be honest with each other about your feelings and expectation. Talk about your expectation and desires. Set rules and boundaries. Something to consider is whether or not you're allowed to date other people in your relationship, in a committed relationship. Whether or not you're allowed to have sex with other people. What are you allowed to do when you are together? Kissing? Could it be touching? Whether or not you're allowed to talk about relationship with other people and to be honest with each other. Another thing is be safe. Whatever you do, whatever type of relationship that you have, be safe. Okay? Protect yourself. If that's something that you want in your relationship. You no need to protect yourself if that's not what you want. And you got a trusting partner, an open partner that can easily come and talk to you about anything, vice versa. Now, I've never heard of this term. Do anybody know what GGG stands for in dating? GGG. And this is the first time I ever heard of this, and I'm in my 50s. GGG stands for good, giving, and gain. good, given, and gain. GGG. And they say it's a term that is used to describe someone who is good in bed, given in the relationship, and willing to try new things in their relationship. In other words, it's described as used as to someone who is a good sexual partner. I've never heard of those terms. GGG. Good, given, and gain. In other words, it's someone who is good in bed. Okay, so we've talked about commitment relationships. We talked about different types of relationship. We talked about being in a committed relationship. We talked about a friendship relationship. But let's talk about being in a commitment relationship. How would you know if your partner wants a commitment from you? Sometimes you have to ask what type of relationship this is going to be. Is it something that you both want? Is it something that he wants? It is important to take some time to think about it. Now ask yourself, why are you hesitant to be committed? And what are you afraid of? Get a better understanding between both of you. If you do decide that you're not ready for a relationship, that's okay. There is no shame in being single. And you can still enjoy your life while you're waiting for that right person. You don't have to jump with every person that you think is smiling and winking at you and thinking that you're a good person. Thinking that that you're a good person. I call that game. What does it mean when you don't want to commit in relationship? And there is no right size fit on all these answers. You know what I'm saying? Some people don't want to be in a committed relationship because they don't feel like they're ready. Trust, communication. You understand what I'm saying? They got to make sure that's what they have in their relationship. It's up to each couple to decide if a relationship can survive without a commitment. Do you think your relationship can survive without a commitment? Can you stay in a relationship and never be committed to that person? How would you feel if you want a commitment but the other person don't? How can you communicate to them? How long is it too long to date without a commitment? And this is a question that many people ask themselves, and there is no easy answer. Some people believe that you should commit to a relationship as soon as possible, while others think that taking your time is the best approach. And it is a best approach. I can't commit. Okay, let's say we met 6 months and we get married. Do you really know each other? I know me and my husband, we dated for I think longer than that, really. Before we even got married, it was on and off, but, we knew we wanted to be married to each other eventually. So, it takes time to be. Sometimes people see love at first sight, and I'm not saying it's not out there. It is out there. There is some love at first sight. You might see somebody say, oh, that's the person I'm going to be with for the rest of my life. And that may be true. And with others, it may not be true. It may not be the right person for you. You know what I'm saying? You need to ask yourself why you want to commit to a relationship. If you're only looking for a serious commitment because you're afraid of being alone, then you might want to be reconsider. Committing to a relationship for the wrong person or for the wrong reason can lead to problems down the road. And it can. It can lead to an unhealthy relationship, and it could also lead to a toxic relationship. If the other person isn't ready for a commitment, then you might be better off just waiting. It's not fair to force someone into a relationship that he or she isn't ready for. It's up to you to decide how long is too long to date without a commitment. But be sure to think about the other person's feelings and make sure you're ready for a serious commitment. That's just the bottom line. We talked about so many different relationships, and there are more that I want to talk about, and I will resume next week on part 2 on different types of relationship. It's a lot, and the part that I want to get into next week is a little bit more deeper than what I'm talking about right now. So don't want to go into it right now, but we will resume this part 2 next week. I want to thank my listeners, my faithful listeners, for listening and tuning in to my podcast. I appreciate and love every last one of you that's listening and supporting me, and I appreciate that. And if you like this podcast, please subscribe to this podcast. Hit that up finger to like. Leave me a comment. I would love if you would leave me a comment and let me know what you think about the podcast. It helps me to grow. No bad comment is a wrong comment to me. It helps me where I need to go, or what I need to improve in. So, if you'd like to leave a comment, do that. If there is something that you would like to talk about, you can also reach out to me to wpproduction2022@gmail.com. You can send me a message. You don't have to put your name on there. If there's something that you want to talk about, we can discuss that as well on the podcast. I do have a platform. If you'd like to get on my podcast, just reach out to me. Like I said, you can email me. Email me your email address and let me know what you want to talk about, and we can connect. I can set a schedule for us to connect, and we can talk about it on the platform that I do have now, so we can podcast from wherever you at now. I want to thank everybody for listening again. Trust me, this podcast is not to hurt anybody. Everybody have their opinion on what we discuss, and like I said, I appreciate your opinion on this. It's Hurting People Do Cry podcast. It's also a testimony podcast. If you have a testimony that you went through it and you think it can help somebody else, please contact me. wpproduction2022@gmail.com. Again, thank you for listening. Love you, and God do too. Bye-bye.